Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magazine Centre. Today I'm doing an astrology report for the week commencing the 15th of May, and outlining some of the key aspects and transits taking place this week and giving an overview of what it all means. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology doesn't control our lives. It gives us a framework to help us understand what's unfolding around us, and it helps to show us where the opportunities for growth are and the key lessons that we can be learning at this time. But from there it's up to us to actually take action and to use the information and apply it in our own lives, because if we don't actually grow from the aspects. The opportunities are there, but we actually have to utilise them, otherwise the opportunities for that particular kind of growth pass for this particular year. Now, in terms of the aspects this week, there's a lot of them, so I'll start off with the planets when they're actually changing, because we've got 4 astrological bodies changing signs this week, and then I'll go through the different aspects that they're making to one another. So let's begin with the moon as usual. So we start off with the moon in Libra. So this is a time where you may feel that desire to kind of connect with one another, to rebuild bridges and to foster an atmosphere of harmony and diplomacy within our one-to-one interactions. On Thursday she moves into Scorpio, so this is a time which may bring up old emotions or old hurts potentially, but not necessarily. But if they do, it's important that we don't hold on to them, we acknowledge them and let them go, so that our mind is free of old attachments and it frees the kind of energy that gets stuck trying to hold these patterns down, and instead we let them go. And obviously this is going to be a theme at the full moon on Saturday, which is at 10:11 p.m. and this particular full moon is obviously balancing Taurus and Scorpio, so I'll go into more detail in a separate video, but suffice to say, this full moon reminds us that as important it is to be grounded in the present moment and to appreciate what we have around us, so be grounded in the body and really concentrate on feeling everything and embracing the power of touch to ground us in the moment. The moon in Scorpio reminds us that life isn't just about the surface details. We do also need to kind of tunnel down or dig deep and to explore the essence of things and not just the form. So it's about seeing the hidden side of things, or the deeper meaning of things, and getting to the core of issues rather than just skating on the surface. But as I said, I'll do another video on this in more detail because it warrants its own video. On Sunday the moon will move into Sagittarius, so this is a more kind of freedom loving energy, and this may be a time where we seek to explore new information or new ideas that directly contradict our current understanding, and it's also potentially desire for travel or exploration. Before on Tuesday she'll enter Capricorn, and this is a time for kind of looking at how are our lives unfolding, are we happy with them? If not, it's up to us to change it by taking responsibility for our lives rather than just trying to dump the blame on other people. Now, in terms of the changes this week, the first one will be Venus entering her home sign of Taurus. So Venus in Taurus, this is a time where we may be focusing more on developing stability in relationships and valuing material things more. So one of the things we do need to be mindful of Venus in Taurus is if we attach our worth or focus our love on objects rather than people, and it's being mindful that we don't develop that pig-headedness of everything's about me or it's all mine, gimme, gimme, gimme. But at the higher level, Venus in Taurus is about developing that stability and enduringness in our relationships. It's that focusing on having that reliability in relationships, of having stable foundations in them, and it's also about appreciating what we have. So it's rather than seeking to acquire everything, it's more about spending time in contemplation. So time in nature is a good way to utilize this kind of transit. It's about appreciating what we already have rather than worrying over what we don't have. If there's a genuine need for something and we're honest about how we go about obtaining it, as it were, then our needs will be met. But if we want something and it's not right for who we are, we wouldn't necessarily have to work for it. But it's important that we don't tie our self-worth up with physical possessions, because physical possessions are by their nature transitory. They don't stick around forever. They either wear out or they have to move on because they no longer serve a purpose in our own lives and are going to be of use for other people. The next change will be on Thursday. This is Mars moving from Gemini to Cancer. So Mars in Cancer, it's not exactly the easiest kind of combination, because Mars is known for its fiery nature, its up and atom kind of attitude or approach, and that desire to cut through any barriers, as it were, and push forward. And Mars is a very masculine kind of energy, but in Cancer, which is very feminine, Mars it can feel like it's boiling the emotions, or the emotions are being stirred up by Mars's transit. But one of the things we can use this transit for is to focus on having a more nurturing approach to how we do things, and appreciating human frailty and how we go about things. So when we're interacting with people, rather than being kind of drowning in emotion, it's about that developing emotional stability, I guess. So if we want nurturing, it's only really when we're children that it's the parents' responsibility sort of thing to nurture us. Once we're adults, really we should be nurturing ourselves. So rather than relying on another person to create emotional stability for us, or to be a certain way in order for us to be emotionally stable, it's instead creating that base of emotional strength where we're in touch with the emotions and we integrate the feminine principles that Cancer represents, and we appreciate the cyclical nature of things, but we're in charge of our own emotions and we're in charge of our emotional responses. So it's creating that space, I guess, with the emotions to allow them to flow, but to not be caught up in them. The next two changes are both on Tuesday. So the first one will be the Sun entering Gemini. So we've had the Sun in Taurus for the last few weeks, and this wraps it up. So the Sun in Taurus has been about that developing perseverance and steadfastness necessary to sustain goals, and being honest with ourselves about any tendencies towards laziness and seeking to get mired down in the realms of sensual experiences. It's absolutely fine to enjoy the simple pleasures in life, but we need to be mindful that we don't overdo it to the point that we tie our sense of identity up with them. And it's also having that patience and perseverance to focus on keeping goals going and make sure that they have a solid foundation to work on or build upon. With the Sun moving into Gemini, this is more about perception, and it's about the mental aspects of living. So this is the Mercury chapter, if you like, of the Sun's transit through the zodiac for this particular astrological year. So with the Sun in Gemini, there can be a desire to seek out many different experiences and to gather a lot of knowledge to us. But it's important that we don't mistake the knowledge for reality as it is. So it's gathering the data to try and understand reality as much as possible, but it needs to move beyond just random bits of data and to see how everything is interrelated. And it's about bringing our mental model of the world that we live in into line with the world as it is. So the end goal of the Sun in Gemini needs to be the capacity to live in the here and now, i.e. be present in our lives. So rather than looking at everything and constantly applying labels to it, it's moving beyond labels to the essence of it. It's seeing it as it is, and see reality as it is, without having to analyse it or without having to think about it. So it's calming the thinking mind down and allowing us to see reality as it is and appreciate it for what it is. On the same day, Mercury will be entering his home sign. So with Venus and Mercury entering their home signs this week, the number of planets in their home signs goes from 3 to 5. This is a very rare occurrence. We certainly haven't experienced this in our lifetime, and it's probably a matter of centuries since this kind of pattern last emerged, just because of how slowly the outer planets move and the rarity of them being in their home signs at the same time as one another. But yeah, with Mercury in Gemini, the intellect or the mental function, the mind, or communication is in its home territory here. So one of the things we do need to be mindful of is an overabundance of mental energy and trying to gather so much information that we end up with information overload and we don't actually see things as they are. But this is also an excellent time for gathering information to us. It's about a 3-week transit, so it's running from next Tuesday, the 21st, up until the 4th of June. So this gives us a window of opportunity to really work with Mercury in his home sign and to elevate the Mercury function in the mind. So rather than it being about just the surface level reality, it's seeking to use communication as a way to remove our perceptual biases. It's about seeking to communicate the truth as best we know it, but be open to new points of view, new ways of seeing things, so we get as a holistic understanding of a topic as possible. So seeing as many different sides of it as we can, rather than clinging to our own particular way of seeing things. So it is about moving beyond narrow-mindedness to the capacity to see things as they are, which requires that we be honest about our current level of understanding or our current level of perception, and stripping away or moving beyond thinking and into the present moment. In terms of aspects this week, the first one, there's going to be a lot of them to Mercury. So the first aspect is on Thursday. So this is a sextile between Mercury and Neptune. This gives us an opportunity to cultivate mindfulness. Mercury is obviously the rational intellect and the mental mind, if you like, or the rational mind. Neptune is about the hidden essence of reality, if you like. It's about the psychic level of or the right brain functioning. So this aspect gives us an opportunity to bring the two together. And when we use mindfulness, it's about stilling the thought process and allowing us to experience reality as it is. So it's using the breath, if you like, and being mindful about our environment. So when we're grounded in the present moment, we see things as they are, and the mind naturally becomes still. And if we utilise this aspect to develop greater mindfulness into our spiritual practice, then we're better able to enjoy the moment as it is, rather than thinking about the next moment or thinking about the future or stressing about the past or obsessing over the past. It's about being mindful of our own thoughts and seek to only engage with the thoughts that are actually valuable, as it were. The following day, Mercury formed a trine to Saturn retrograde and an inconjunct to Jupiter retrograde. So the trine to Saturn gives us this opportunity to work on developing mental discipline. So it's about decluttering the mind, of removing any unnecessary thoughts or distracting thoughts, and only focus on thoughts pertaining to the topic at hand, if you like. So it's having that mental discipline to only deal with what is real, if you like, rather than imagining things which haven't happened, probably won't happen, and causing ourselves mental stress. The inconjunct to Jupiter, on the other hand, this aspect presents us with the challenge of bringing the small details into alignment with the big picture. So it's linking the micro and the macrocosm together. The inconjunct shows there can be a degree of separation here, because an inconjunct is between two signs that have nothing in common with one another. So the challenge here is to bring the two aspects of the mind, the part that deals with the immediate and the micro level of detail, versus the general and the abstract, symbolised by Jupiter, and it's bringing the two together so that we recognise that as much as it's important to understand the big picture, we need to be able to apply it in the immediate environment. Likewise, we need to avoid being stuck in a position where we're unable to see the forest for the trees. So it's bring the two functions together so they work together to inform one another, rather than being treated separately, and therefore missing out on the capacity to see how everything reflects one another, reflects each other. And the last aspect the next aspect is on this is on Saturday. So this aspect is a trine to Pluto. So it gives us an opportunity to strip away or to bring to awareness old outmoded thinking patterns, old mental obsessions, and any tendencies to cling to mental attachments, and instead recognise where these mental attachments or obsessions are causing suffering for ourselves or limiting our capacity to maximise our mental capacities, and to remove those attachments. So it's about shedding the old attachments and renewing the mind through removing old, outworn thinking patterns to create space for new, more conscious ways of perceiving things, and more honest or true or closer capacity to perceive the truth. And the final aspect with Mercury is on Tuesday. This is Mercury, once he's entered Gemini, will conjunct the Sun. So this gives us an opportunity to illuminate the intellect, if you like. It's about, but it's also an opportunity to separate our sense of being, or become aware of where our thinking is affecting our perception of ourselves. So it's illuminating the intellect and recognizing that the intellect cannot see the whole of reality as it is, and we can't base a sense of self-identity on our intellectual understanding. It's inherently limited. But we can illuminate the intellect and recognize that it is a tool for self-awareness. It allows us to evaluate or assess our immediate surroundings and information pertaining to ourselves, but it's not the end goal. It's just a tool to help us understand or develop a mental understanding of things. But identity is not based in our thoughts, it's beyond that. So it's moving beyond a mental labels of ourselves to just being. The next aspects cover, so we have Venus was the next one. So Venus, after moving into Taurus, she'll conjunct Uranus on Saturday. So this aspect is a bit like the equivalent of a new moon for them. So this is the beginning of a new cycle between Venus and Uranus, and this aspect gives an opportunity to work on self-realization or individuation, and recognizing that for truly healthy relationships we have to know ourselves fully and have space for one another to achieve that self-realization, because a truly healthy relationship requires that both people be whole unto themselves. It's not about a status quo or holding a status quo where we stay stuck with as we are. Any healthy relationship should have that freedom of growth and the capacity to foster each other's self-development. And it's about becoming or learning to value change and recognize that change is the true constant in life. If we learn to embrace change within the realms of relationships and within our own value system, we can move towards truly healthy and empowered relationships where both parties have the freedom to be who they are and to explore their own personal growth, whilst honouring the other party in the relationship and giving them the same opportunities for growth and development. After that we have so some aspects with Vesta. So the first one will be a square to Saturn. So this is on Friday. So this aspect, it highlights where we have issues around focusing on our own personal needs and our responsibility to others. So the challenge is to bring them together so that we remember to appreciate the process of growth at the same time. So it's looking at if we the two shadow potentials of this are either we avoid commitments or we fit out of fear of responsibility, or on the flip side we take on too much responsibility. So we take on responsibility for things that aren't ours to take responsibility for. So it's important that we strike the balance so that we take responsibilities and we honour our commitments to other people, but we also make sure we don't do it to the extent that we no longer enjoy the process of growth and fulfillment. So it's the capacity to focus on building something and honouring our commitments with other people, but making sure that we don't take on responsibility for things that aren't ours to take responsibility for. And then the next and the final aspect will be Vesta will be trine to Jupiter. This will be on Tuesday. So this aspect gives an opportunity to focus our energies on a social vision. So it's looking at the big picture of the broader implications of things, and it's committing to a social vision. So expanding our awareness and developing a broad-mindedness and a capacity to understand the broad issues that underpin everything, and then recognizing, okay, what vision, or ideally social vision, can we commit to that will help to improve the broader issues that are affecting a lot of people. So how can we work on developing a broad-mindedness that will help us to aid other people in a more constructive way? So as you can see, there's a heck of a lot going on this week. So a lot of it involves Mercury. So this week there's a lot of opportunities to transform ourselves through the renewing of our minds. And with the full moon in Scorpio, it's also an opportunity to do a lot of releasing and healing through recognizing where we have old stuff that we're holding on to that needs to be let go of. But it's also developing that more penetrating perception and the capacity to see the hidden essence of things and not just the surface level of form. So it's being grounded in the present moment allows us to balance the two together. So on the one hand, enjoy and appreciate the physical world and become grounded through the physical senses, but on the other hand, recognizing that there's a lot more to life than just the surface level reality. We actually have to dig deep and explore deeply. And with Pluto in a loose trine to the Sun and a weak trine to the Moon, Pluto being the ruler of this particular full moon really emphasises digging deep and moving beyond old attachments and old ways of doing things, and shedding the attachments that keep us playing small or keep us stuck in the past, and moving into the present moment, which is the only thing that truly exists, as it were. So may this week bring you many new insights, an opportunity for illuminating the rational mind and transforming it so we become more present in our lives. And may this be an opportunity to heal ourselves and start or create space in our lives for new ways of doing things, and incorporating more gratitude and appreciation for what we have, and spending more time reflecting on what we have, and being more mindful of how we carry out our lives, what we're doing, and seeking to be in the present moment as much as possible. So naturally, spiritual practice is important in this, especially practices that focus on grounding and becoming present, and it's opening the mind up to new ways of doing things, having the discipline to strip away superfluous thinking that doesn't serve us, and also letting go of old thought patterns which we may become attached to but don't serve us. They keep us going round and round in circles and just cause more mental suffering. So may this week bring you many blessings. Take care.